Welcome to the Your Historical Photos channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. In Marseille, France, July 1940, locals watched as French battle flags were loaded for shipment to Africa following Germany's May occupation. In Londonderry, Northern Ireland, 1971, residents gathered at the Bogside during a protest demanding civil rights and an end to detention without trial. In Stockholm, Sweden, 1958, Scandinavian Airlines introduced a proposed flight attendant uniform with shorter skirts and bright accents to modernize their image. During the Biafran War, 1967 to 1970, in southeast Nigeria, civilians endured blockades and brutal fighting. Around 2 million people, including many children, died from food shortages. During the Great Famine of 1877 in Madras, now Chennai, a man shielded his family amid life-threatening drought and colonial policies that reduced food production. In World War I, French bombers released chlorine gas over trenches in the Somme region, forcing soldiers to use wet cloths as makeshift protection. At Ground Zero, September 14, 2001, the underground bathtub, water-retaining structure was all that remained of the South Tower after the Twin Towers collapse. In Madrid, Spain, December 20th, 1973, ETA separatists detonated explosives beneath a roadway, launching Prime Minister Luis Carrero Blanco's car dozens of meters into the air. After Berlin's capture in May 1945, Soviet soldiers posed with the Red Army's youngest fighter, a decorated 14-year-old frontline messenger. In Cannes, France, May 1975, Danish model Winnie Hullman walked the runway during the Cannes Film Festival. From 1930 to 1969, Indigenous children in Canada were forced into residential schools, separated from families and banned from using their native languages. In Oklahoma Territory, 1899, a crowded courtroom saw dozens of men tried for participating in violent killings of Native Americans, at a time when accountability was rare. In northern Vietnam, 1949, Viet Minh soldiers celebrated after capturing a French fortress during the First Indochina War through artillery and ambush tactics. At a Beatles concert in Sydney, June 1964, a fan tossed her special needs child toward Paul McCartney to catch his attention. In Gdansk, Poland, December 17, 1970, the Polish United Workers' Party building was set on fire during protests over food price hikes. During the Battle of Little Bighorn, June 25, 1876, Cheyenne warrior Buffalo Calf Roadwoman reportedly played a key role in defeating Colonel Custer, infamous for attacking indigenous civilians. In Cairo, Egypt, street vendors sold ancient mummies to tourists, profiting from remains preserved for over 3,000 years. In Paris, 1871, revolutionaries built barricades of rubble and carts during the Commune, captured in a blurred long-exposure photograph. A Junkers Ju-87 Stuka dive bomber featured a smiling face on its nose. Its precision attacks were accompanied by terrifying siren wails. A man displayed British WWI protective gear, including a steel helmet, splinter-proof goggles, and a gauntlet with a built-in dagger. Albina Mali-Hočar, a Slovenian fighter, appeared in uniform after being wounded for the third time during WY2, having joined the Yugoslav National Liberation Army in 1941. On December 1, 1969, a national lottery in Washington, D.C. determined the draft order for mandatory military service using capsules numbered for each day of the year. On November 22, 1963, subway cars in the U.S. were packed during evening rush hour, just hours before a historic event. In Amsterdam, May 1945, Dutch resistance members celebrated upon hearing news of Hitler's death. In Rome, 1957, actress Sophia Loren took part in a film publicity session after earning over 10 international credits. In Glasgow, 1868, Thomas Annan photographed the Venel alley as part of a project documenting slum conditions. At the Bronx Zoo, 1963, a sign labeled humans as the most dangerous animal, warning visitors about humanity's impact on nature. In Munich, April 30th, 1945, U.S. Army Corporal Larry Matinsk handed out cigarettes to newly liberated prisoners shortly before World War II ended. In Rome, March 1963, President John F. Kennedy was fettuccine Alfredo by Alfredo Di Lelio during a state visit. In Washington, D.C., September 1952, Richard Nixon wept after meeting Dwight D. Eisenhower, following his famous Checkers speech. A 1939 political cartoon in London and New York showed Stalin and Hitler dividing Europe after the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. A French woman accused of collaboration wore a German uniform during occupation. The photo was found in a captured soldier's belongings in the 1940s. In Sweden, 1917, the army adopted Husqvarna pistols, valued for their precision and durability. In the 1950s U.S., a woman sat at the edge of a bus seat holding her baby while waiting. On April 15, 1917, Cincinnati's Main Post Office posted a notice suspending mail to Central Powers 9 days after the U.S. entered WWI. In Appalachia, 1930s, a boy walked a dirt road with an owl perched on his shoulder, reflecting close bonds with nature. In northern India, 1908, travelers used inflatable cowhide boats to cross the Sutlej River. Between 1944 to 1945, a U.S. soldier posed with captured German weapons in Europe after Allied advances. Students at Morgan Hill School raised their right arms to the U.S. flag in a patriotic salute. Theodore Roosevelt, 1904, posed for an official portrait in the Oval Office during his first presidential term. John F. Kennedy, 1963, appeared in an official Oval Office portrait as the 35th U.S. president. A Japanese samurai posed in combat stance wearing late Edo period lamellar armor made of iron plates tied with silk cords. In Los Angeles, 1967, members of the Mothers of Invention and Jimi Hendrix posed for their psychedelic album cover photo session. Elvis Presley, August 1969, performed at the International Hotel in Las Vegas during his residency. In Thiers, France, early 1900s, traveling knife grinders, sharpened blades lying prone on portable grindstones. In Montreal, 1963, Joseph Renfred demonstrated a purse that dropped its contents to deter thieves. From 1963 to 1965, a hydraulic robot mannequin demonstrated mechanical movement at automation research centers. Freddie Ford, a hydraulic robot, debuted in 1965 at the International Innovation Fair, answering voice commands. 2 aircraft conducted in-air refueling, holding formation for over 15 minutes at 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour. Margaret Burke White stood atop a skyscraper photographing the New York skyline. In 1920 Europe, a professor showed students a transparent skeletal model for medical teaching. Ski sailing, invented in Austria in the 1920s, combined skis and a sail to glide across snow at speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour. Ronald Reagan, 1981, rode a horse on his California ranch during his first presidential term. Colonel Harlan Sanders' funeral took place on December 20, 1980 in Louisville, Kentucky. On September 7, 1967, a Unimate robot served coffee at a GM plant, showcasing industrial automation. In Cannes, May 1977, Arnold Schwarzenegger posed with Folies Bergère dancers during the film festival. Central Park, New York, was filled with families enjoying picnics under the sun. Liza Minnelli, 1977, relaxed at Studio 54 after a performance. The club became an iconic cultural hub. In Glens Falls, 1907, lumberjacks directed logs down the Hudson River to prevent jams. In 1955 Europe, a man weighing 575 pounds, 260 kilograms was photographed, drawing public fascination. 3 sisters posed in 1920s studio portraits wearing typical fashion of the era. The Lincoln Memorial dedication honored the president who abolished slavery, with 36 columns symbolizing Union states. At a 1956 U.S. summer camp, teens practiced archery before dinner as part of recreation programs. In Budapest, 1901, daily news was delivered via the Telephone Herald to 30,000 subscribers. In New York, September 1995, Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin viewed the Hudson River during a diplomatic visit. In Los Angeles, 1965, Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, posed beside her custom 1958 Thunderbird. In Cannes, Winnie Holman posed for photographer Helmut Newton. In Honolulu, 1965, Frank Sinatra reviewed the script for None But the Brave. In 1943 Britain, Princess Elizabeth trained as a mechanic in the Auxiliary Territorial Service during World War II. In Germany, 1958, a roadside gas station reflected post-war economic recovery. In the 1950s U.S., a family exited a supermarket with shopping carts, symbolizing the retail boom. In Los Angeles, 1930, police began using motorcycles to patrol city streets. In Cairo, 1870s, a craftsman displayed goods outside his workshop, photographed using wet plate collodion. In 1965 US, Pete's Super Submarines Diner featured slogans like "Love at First Bite." In Paris, 1922, Bessie Coleman earned her pilot's license after moving to France when US schools rejected her. In Bran, Romania, 1884, Bran Castle was photographed, later associated with the Dracula legend. In early 1900s Russia, villagers hauled a hunted moose across an icy river using sleds and ropes. Christian Dior's 1947 fashion show in Paris stunned audiences with its new look of cinched waists and full skirts. On May 27, 1937, a silver chain was cut to inaugurate the Golden Gate Bridge before 30,000 people. On the September 1, 1945, Moscow State University reopened classes after World War II with 500 attendees. In the late 1960s, King Faisal visited London to strengthen Saudi-British ties with Queen Elizabeth II. A portable, extendable bridge was designed for crisis response, assembled with interlocking metal modules. The double-ender bridge system allowed fast setup from both sides of obstacles. In 1955, a mechanical spoon was invented in the US to help people with limited hand movement eat more easily. Father and son, July 16, 1969, watched Apollo 11 launch at Cape Canaveral as the Saturn V rocket lifted toward the moon. Since 1942, U.S. officials met to set quality standards for imported teas, focusing on flavor and aroma. In Mexico City, June 1956, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara were detained before sailing on the yacht Granma. In London, May 1967, Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix performed together at the Saville Theatre using wah-wah pedals and distortion. On December 13, 1972, Harrison H. Schmitt examined a boulder in Taurus Littrow Valley during the Apollo 17 mission. On December 20, 1974, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro attended The Godfather Part II premiere in Manhattan. In Memphis, 1968, a fan snapped a self-portrait with Elvis Presley at a local concert.